What are we going to talk about this morning? Well, we are going to talk about, as you saw from the title, we're going to revisit the Ray Laconico design EWC by Monterey Bay Knives. So, you guys know that I love the one that I had in on loan. This is my personal one. Mine is in micarta. We're going to talk about some good things and some things that might put some people off of the micarta ones. For me, it's not a big deal, but if you happen to be wearing on headphones, turn down the volume because here comes the music. Guys, it's been a busy morning. I'm currently making a pot of coffee for my wife. I've shot a couple videos, but what we're going to talk about is the Ray Laconico EWC. Now, this is a non-locking flipper that you guys have seen before. I'm trying to multitask. You've seen this before on my channel. This is one that I got directly from Sanford at Monterey Bay Knives, and this is the micarta version. So I really do love this knife. I'm going to warn you ahead of time though, this is not your typical knife you're going to see on my channel. This is not a hard use. And as you saw from the title, basically what I look at this is my grandfather's pocket knife brought into the modern era. I really love this. I love the simplicity of it. I love it for a lot of small tasks, and this knife does get a lot of use. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and we'll turn this around. We'll get some specs, we'll get some weights, and we'll look at it top down on the counter. So guys, I'll meet you down there. All right, guys, disregard any gurgling sounds you hear in the background. That is my wife's coffee that I'm currently making for her. So this is the Ray Laconico designed EWC by Monterey Bay Knives, right there, MBK. This is not a typical knife that you would see on my channel. Most people would be like, oh, that's not something I would ever figure you would enjoy. I'm not a fan of front flippers. They don't call this a front flipper, they call this a top flipper. I am usually not a fan of them, but this one just doesn't bind up because it's not locking. If you already saw the first video, this knife doesn't lock. It basically just has a double detent. It has an open and a closed detent, no lock bar. So you can actually break that detent and it comes shut. So this is more along the lines of a traditional folding knife that's been done in a newer modern fashion. So this one is the tan micarta, not the green. This is the tan micarta. There were not very many of these. I was able to get this from Sanford directly. So let's go ahead and take a look and talk about this knife and some of the specs and things like that, because this is a really, really interesting knife. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about it here. So this knife is, overall length on this knife is 6 3/4 inches, not 6.3, 6 3/4 inches. It is a nice style blade, lots of belly, really, really iconic Laconico shape. You can pick his knives out of lineup. Blade length on this is a straight 3 inches. That's a really good usable size and blade length. Blade thickness, 0.125 inches. Fairly thick blade stock, if I can get this to focus. Fairly thick blade stock for a smaller knife, but it's done really well. Full flat grind, comes down nice and thin. This blade is an M390. Let me zoom back out so we're not zoomed in on it like that. M390 blade. And they've got this listed at 2.1 ounces. So let's go get the scale and get some weights and make sure that that's an accurate weight. Okay, so we get the scale out. This is a light knife, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. Let's get these specs and everything out of the way. So do it in grams first this time. So for those of you who don't use Freedom units, you're looking at 55 grams. That's one of the lightest knives we've had come in a while. So in ounces, that is 1 7/8. So the weight that they have listed, 2.1 ounces, I believe is for the carbon fiber version. This is micarta. This is not a very heavy knife at all. I carry this knife 1 7/8. Wow. I carry this knife a lot in sweatpants or shorts or track pants. This is a around the house, just general use utility knife. So now that we've got the specs out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So you can see you have steel liner on this side, which houses your, I guess you could call it a lock bar, but there is no lock cutout. There is just simply a lock bar in there that's putting tension on a ball that hits two separate, here it break, two separate detent balls. There's a detent ball here in the open position, and there's a detent hole. You can see it right there. It's about to drop in. Detent hole on both ends of the blade, and that's what gives you your lock open there. If held properly, this knife should not go closed in your hands. This is not a hard use knife, so therefore I don't use it in a fashion where I'm at all concerned about that knife dropping shut on me. Action on this, really, really good. This one is actually fairly stiff to open and close. I prefer to open it with my thumb on top. I don't like the top flip like that. I prefer just to take it, get my thumb on it, pop it open, and then I've got a knife. Boom, there's your knife. Pocket clip on this, really, really well done. It stands up tall, but it's softened enough on the edges that it really, really does not feel like there's a pocket clip there when you get it in hand. It's just about in the right spot. Like I said, if you are using this knife and you get way up on it like this, you can drop it down into yourself. So it's a knife that you gotta be a little bit cautious with. And if you happen to snap it shut hard enough, it will snap shut on your fingers if they happen to be in the way. I'm always a little cautious closing it. I just basically push just enough to drop it, and then I close it like I would a traditional pocket knife. Because that's what this is. This is more of a traditional slip joint, but instead of having a back spring, it just uses a double detent. The micarta on this was done really well. Please forgive any bumps and scratches. Like I said, this does get carried a lot. The micarta on this came out really nicely. And all in all, fit and finish, this is great. Now, I am going to point out something that might be off-putting to some. The carbon fiber versions of this knife didn't do this as badly. Micarta, you can actually compress that. Remember me talking about knives? In previous videos, I talked about knives that are all micarta without good solid liners on both sides. This is one of those knives that, yeah, you could really squeeze it and crush down on it and cause issues. But the thing is, with this not being a hard-use knife, you're really not going to run into those issues. Now, this knife came so incredibly sharp that it took a while before I ever actually had to sharpen it. I did resharpen it. So not much in the way of jimping. Everybody's like, well, why is there jimping down there? Well, that's simply because that is the jimping that's on the back of the flipper tab. So it winds up, being there, and it's more aesthetic on this, I think, than it is functional. I wouldn't have minded to see a little bit of jimping here, but the fact is, like I said, with this not being a hard use knife, you really don't need much in the line of jimping back there. This is just a nice knife to have for opening packages. I carry it in my pocket when I'm walking around in shorts and t-shirts here, short t-shirt here at the house, where I don't want something heavy to weigh down my pants. And if I need a knife just for small tasks, I've used this in the kitchen. It works really well in the kitchen. As a matter of fact, I was going to have this out and I was actually going to peel a potato for you, but I figured it's going to take forever, so we won't do that. This is a great, great little quick and easy utility knife. So before we go any further and flip this around, since we've pretty much talked about most of it, like I said, blade shape's great, action is great, it carries so well, you forget it's there. And just the fact that this allows you, it's 3 inches, so most municipalities, that's legal. It doesn't lock, so that makes it legal. I'm just saying, like, this is a knife that easily could be carried in a lot of places where most other knives are not allowed, and that's why they called it the EWC, the Everywhere Carry. So if you happen to live in New York, police look for a pocket clip, and if you're carrying a flipper knife, or if you're carrying like a large knife or something that's not a traditional knife, you can actually get in trouble. So there's areas that, like UK, you can't have locking knives and things like that. I think this might get you past some of those regulations. And like I said, with it being 3 inches, it's legal pretty much everywhere. But without further ado, give me a second. I'll go grab a couple things for comparison. Because like I said, size comparison. My wife's getting coffee. Don't mind that shadow. Size comparison, we'll go with the usual here. This is the Shabazz 21, full-size Shabazz 21. It is not a large knife, small knife. Let's look at another little comparison here. A lot of people carry this. This is a Spyderco Endura. You can see it's a small knife. And then just because I haven't showed it in a while, comparison-wise, there is my sea snake, my artisan sea snake that I designed, and they are almost identical in size. So if you wanted a perspective of what size my little knife is, they are almost the same there at the EWC. So let's get all this stuff out of the way. Not a very large knife at all, really convenient, compact size. Let's go ahead. I mean, there's not much else to say about it. It's really well constructed. Like I said, it is micarta, so it's not as rigid as carbon fiber, so you do get a little bit of flex, but not such a concern. Since it's not a locking knife anyway, it's not going to be hard use, and I would appreciate if you focus. So yeah, geometry on this is great. The design is great. Ray's designs are always amazing. I love Ray. He's such a shy guy. I can't ever get him talking video. But yeah, super, super nice design. I love the blade shape. I love how straight it is. And it's nice to have something. It's nice to see something that is just plain, straight lines and comfortable. There's not a lot of frills, not a lot of bells and whistles, just a straightforward small knife that you can use easily and carry. It is so light. This would be something, if you're an office guy, you could carry this in and out of your office, and I don't think anyone would ever bat an eye at that. So let's go ahead and get this turned around and do some final thoughts. Like I said, this got a really good review first time I did this video. This actually is the version 2. So there wasn't a lot of changes. I don't think the jimping on this one is as aggressive as the one that I had in the first video. And even the jimping had been softened, but you could see that the jimping that was on that first one I reviewed, the carbon fiber one, was a lot more aggressive. And another thing that I was going to show you on the pocket clip is just this shape, how it cuts down in. It's just aesthetically pleasing. Everything they did on this knife, they did well. And Ray's designs are always function over form. And I really appreciate the fact that he does such a good job of putting the utilitarian function of the knife above how it looks. And when you do it, you get a very clean, very useful, very attractive design. So that being said, let's get to the price point. The price point on these knives is $180, and for a lot of folks, that's kind of expensive for something that is not something that I use all the time. I'm gonna say that this knife probably gets a lot more use than I ever expected it would, and it is a lot of fun. I don't fidget often with knives, but this is one of the ones, this and my automatic out the fronts. This is one that you will catch me sitting and doing that because it is fun to mess with. So, like I said, all in all, great knife. Guys, I forgot a size comparison that I was gonna do, which was another small knife, which is the CJRB Rhea. So we're gonna look at it right there. They are super similar in size. Another knife, another knife that is just a champ little pocket gentleman's carry. And that's kind of what this is. It's more of a gentleman's carry knife than it is anything else. So, guys, that's it. Pretty much done shooting videos today, so expect to see these going up. And keep in mind that these videos never go in any specific order. I'm gonna put links in the corners for different stuff. There's a channel link to, I think I'm gonna do Lindy Lou's channel this time. I'm really trying to get her some more subscribers. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down. Right at the end of the video, they decide to start weed eating and leaf blowing. But if you like them, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down. There is an applause button if you really like the videos, and if you really want to support the channel, you can always join. Stand by and watch the people that are supporting the channel, and I love you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.